Uncle, I'm the true heir to Okoye logistics. I'm the blood of the Jabari lineage, Mosi said coldly, his eyes sharp like blades as he stared at Jabari, who sat across from him with his fingers interlaced on the table. Jabari took a deep breath, locking eyes with his nephew, his gaze icy. Mosi, I've given you everything, and yet you still want more? Greed can lead to destruction. You don't understand anything. You're old now. You no longer have the ability to run Okoye logistics. This is my time. If you won't step down, I'll do whatever it takes to force you out. What do you think about Mosi's plan? Will he succeed in carrying out his scheme? If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment letting us know where you're watching from. Every morning, Ao and Amara woke up early, not because they were worried about the challenges ahead, but because of their passion for learning and their desire to rise above. Today, Ao had just received the results of the national math competition, and she couldn't contain her joy. Sis, look at this. Amara ran over, holding the prestigious gold certificate in her hand. You won first place in the national math competition. Ao paused for a moment, then broke into a radiant smile. I really did it, didn't I? Thank you for always believing in me, Em. Amara smiled, her eyes glowing with pride. I knew you could do it, Ao. As for me, yesterday, my teacher said I composed an amazing song. I feel like I'm soaring. Ao looked at her sister, her eyes filled with admiration. You're amazing, Amara. Thank you for always being the motivation that pushes me to do my best. They both sat down at the breakfast table, where Jabari was waiting. He looked at them, his eyes full of expectation and pride. You've both done very well, Jabari said warmly. Thanks to your hard work and talent, I believe that the future of Okoye logistics will be bright. Ao and Amara exchanged a glance, a sense of emotion rising in their hearts. The two sisters had never imagined a day like this, standing at the pinnacle of their academic achievements, becoming the pride of the family. We'll continue to move forward together, Ao said, her voice full of determination. We're not just learning for ourselves, but for the family, for the future of this company. Jabari sat silently, his eyes looking toward a future he believed his children would inherit, not only excelling in education but also becoming great leaders of the company. He knew he had made the right choice in raising these two children, just as life had shaped him. Although everything was going smoothly in the Okoye family, recently, a noticeable change had occurred. Kenneth, the loyal butler of the family, had begun displaying strange behaviors. He frequently appeared in places where he wasn't needed, sometimes standing quietly in the hallway or entering Jabari's office without notice. One evening, while Ao and Amara were chatting in the living room, they overheard a whispering conversation between Kenneth and a stranger from Jabari's office. We can't delay any longer, Kenneth said, his voice soft but serious. Jabari is getting old. He can't run the company for much longer. We need to act quickly. Amara looked at Ao, her heart pounding. Sis, did you hear that? She whispered. Ao nodded, her eyes filled with tension. Yes. And I don't feel right about this. We need to learn more about this person. As the two sisters quietly eavesdropped through the crack in the door, the stranger responded. So when do we start? How do we ensure that when Jabari steps down, everything will be ours? Don't worry, Kenneth said, his voice filled with confidence. Everything is already set. I've prepared every plan. Once Mosi steps in, Jabari won't stand a chance. Ao and Amara's eyes widened in shock. Mosi, Ao mumbled. Is that Jabari's grandson? As the door closed, the two sisters stood silently in the dark. Sis, we have to stop them right now, Amara said, her voice urgent. Ao gripped her sister's hand tightly. We won't let this happen. We have to find a way to expose this conspiracy before it's too late. The next day, Ao and Amara couldn't stop thinking about the documents they had found in Kenneth's office. Each line of text felt like a warning, causing their hearts to race faster. Ao held the documents in her hands, her eyes still fixed on the pages, while Amara stood beside her, fear etched on her face. Sis, what do you think Uncle Jabari will do when he finds out about this? Amara asked, her voice trembling. Ao paused for a moment, then sighed. I don't know. But if we don't tell him now, it will be too late. We need to prove everything. Not just to Uncle Jabari, but to ourselves as well. The two sisters sat down in a quiet corner of the garden, where no one could hear them. Ao flipped through the pages of the documents, pointing to a particular section in one of the contracts. Here, Amara. This is the contract Kenneth is planning with Mosi. They're trying to push Uncle Jabari out of the company, and all the assets will belong to them. Amara remained silent, pain clearly showing on her face. So, what do we do? Ao thought for a moment, then decided. We'll find a way to expose them. But we can't make a fuss right now. If we don't have enough evidence, they'll twist everything and make us look like liars. Amara nodded, her eyes filled with determination. I trust you, sis. We'll do this the right way, so everyone can see the truth. The two sisters began to secretly follow Kenneth every day, paying attention to every move he made. One day, when Ao entered Jabari's office to find more evidence, she noticed something strange. Some important documents were missing from the desk. She quickly rushed to find Amara. Amara, the documents we found, they're gone. Ao said, her face filled with worry. We have to find them, Ao. We can't let them get away with this, Amara responded, her voice tense. Ao grasped her sister's hand tightly. We can't rush this. We have to be careful, Amara. But no matter what, we won't let them take what isn't theirs. Unbeknownst to both of them, Kenneth and Mosi had started to realize that their plan was being threatened. But with Ao and Amara's determination, the truth was about to be revealed. The next day, Ao and Amara decided they could no longer wait. They had gathered enough evidence, and they could not allow Kenneth to continue with his dark plot. Although they were young, their belief in righteousness and their courage kept them steadfast. They had planned to confront the butler directly. Ao and Amara found Kenneth in the living room, sipping tea and reading the newspaper as usual. Without a hint of suspicion, he continued to pretend to be the diligent, loyal butler. But this time, Ao and Amara could no longer stand by. Uncle Kenneth, Ao began, her voice firm. We need to talk. Kenneth looked up, his gaze scrutinizing. Is there something wrong, Ao? Amara couldn't hold back any longer. She stepped forward and went straight to the point. We know everything. You and Mosi are planning to take Uncle Jabari's assets, and ours too. Kenneth remained silent for a moment, but his face showed no fear, only a slight smirk. Do you think you can stop me? You're both too naive. Ao and Amara didn't back down. Ao continued, her voice still strong. We have enough evidence to prove everything. You can't hide forever. Kenneth stood up, lowering his voice, now filled with anger. You have no idea who you're dealing with. If you dare to do this, I won't hesitate to destroy everything. Do you think you can do that without facing consequences? Amara responded, her eyes unwavering. Ao took her sister's hand, staring at Kenneth. We won't let you deceive Uncle Jabari and this family. Not ever. Kenneth fell silent, his eyes flashing with rage. You think you can win? I've had everything prepared for a long time. When Mosi takes over, you'll have nothing. It won't be Mosi, it won't be you, it'll be us who decide the future of this family, Ao said decisively. Kenneth turned away, frustrated, and quickly left without another word. But in his eyes, Ao and Amara knew that the threat wasn't over. Sis, we did the right thing, right? Amara asked, her hands still tightly clenched. Ao looked at her sister, then nodded. Yes. But the battle isn't over. Now is the time to act even more decisively. Ao and Amara knew they were only at the beginning of this battle. But no matter how difficult it got, they would not back down. After the intense confrontation with Kenneth, Ao and Amara could clearly feel that everything had changed. Kenneth was no longer the loyal butler he once was, but had become a dangerous enemy. Though they had already had a tense face-off, it wasn't enough to stop his and Mosi's conspiracy. Ao knew that if they didn't act immediately, everything would slip out of their hands. One morning, when Jabari was away on a long business trip, Ao and Amara decided it was time to take a decisive step. They had to expose the truth, but this time, they couldn't do it with words alone. They needed strong evidence, and the only way to get it was by watching and recording every action of Kenneth and Mosi. Sis, what do you think we should do now? Amara asked, her voice filled with worry as she looked out the window, where Jabari's car had already disappeared early that morning. Ao looked into her sister's eyes and then turned to the desk where she had hidden all the important documents. We're going to confront Mosi. I think it's time to face him directly. But this time, we won't just talk. We'll have evidence. They had carefully planned it out. Mosi frequently visited Jabari's house, and Ao had noticed that whenever Mosi came, Kenneth was either absent or standing off to the side, as if he was hiding something. They decided to wait until Mosi arrived, and in the meantime, Ao and Amara would sneak into his room to search for more clues. When Mosi finally arrived, Ao and Amara knew this was their chance. Quietly, the two sisters slipped outside into the garden and followed Kenneth's trail. Just a few minutes later, they saw Kenneth and Mosi entering a secluded room at the end of the hallway. The door closed, but not all of the windows were completely shut. We have to go through that window, Ao whispered, pointing to the dark room. Remember last time, we overheard them talking through the crack? We'll do the same now. Amara hesitated but agreed. The two sisters quietly moved to the window, where a small gap allowed them to eavesdrop. They didn't want to miss any details. As they got closer, Ao strained to listen to the conversation inside. We need to act now, Mosi said, his voice filled with confidence and coldness. Jabari won't let me take over easily, but Kenneth, you have to help me convince him that I'm the only one capable of running the company. Kenneth responded in a low, dangerous tone. I know, I've prepared everything. The documents have been moved. We just need one final push to complete this plan. Ao clenched Amara's hand, her eyes lighting up with the realization that this was their chance to ruin their plan. We have to record everything, Ao whispered, then quickly took out her voice recorder from her pocket. Inside, Mosi continued, with Jabari no longer fit to lead, I'll take his place. And then, all the assets will be ours. Kenneth scoffed. Everything will go according to plan. Let Mosi be the next one. As for me, I just need my share. Amara and Ao listened to every word, and when the conversation ended, they immediately backed away, leaving no trace behind. Sis, we have enough evidence now. We'll have to confront them and expose everything, Amara said, determination in her eyes. As soon as Mosi left the room, Ao and Amara wasted no time. They rushed to Jabari's office and took the recorded phone, ready to present everything to him. They knew the truth had been revealed, and no one could stop it now. When Jabari returned, Ao and Amara didn't wait any longer. They sat with him, beginning to recount everything, Every detail, every conspiracy, every word from Kenneth and Mosi. Uncle Jabari, here's the evidence we've gathered. You can't trust these people anymore. We have to act before it's too late, Ao said, her voice strong and resolute. Jabari looked at them, his eyes filled with both anger and gratitude. Thank you, my children, he said, his voice choking. I didn't see this before. But now, I'll protect you. We won't let our enemies win. The next morning, in Jabari's living room, he had called Kenneth and Mosi to a crucial meeting. Ao and Amara stood by his side, witnessing everything that was about to unfold. Kenneth and Mosi walked into the room, their faces full of self-satisfaction. They had no idea that their plan had been exposed. Jabari looked at them, his gaze sharp and filled with resolve. We had a long conversation yesterday, Jabari began, his voice cold. All of your schemes have been uncovered. You thought you could exploit my family, but today, it ends. Mosi and Kenneth exchanged looks, confused and fearful. Jabari had prepared everything. Proof, documents of the company's transfer that Mosi hadn't been able to hide, and now the truth was revealed. The confrontation ended quickly. Mosi and Kenneth were forced to leave the Okoye family. The assets and control of the company had been secured. Ao and Amara stood by Jabari, reflecting on what had just happened. We did the right thing, Ao said, her eyes shining brightly. Jabari nodded and smiled with pride. Not just for the family, but because we held on to our trust and love for each other. You too will be the rightful heirs of this company. The story concluded with a lesson about perseverance, honesty, and the power of family. Despite facing hardships, love and truth are always the keys to overcoming any challenge.